Hip number 99 is out. 3, working 1/8, followed by hip number 5, working 1/8. We'll confirm as we get closer to the top of the lane, but the first 3 horses scheduled to work, all going 1/8. Hip number 2, hip number 3, followed by hip number 5. Our first horse is working its way down the backside with the outrider. That's going to be hip number 2, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Hip number 2, first to go, followed by hip number 3, also consigned by the Benchmark Training Center, both working 1/8. Right now approaching the half-mile pole. Hip number 2, working 1. Hip number 2 right now approaching the quarter pole. Hip number 2 getting ready to be to the quarter pole, working 1/8, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Hip number 2, first horse to work this afternoon or this morning in the under tack show. Now at the quarter pole, hip number 2, followed by hip number 3. Hip number 2 at the top of the lane, working 1/8. $11 flat for hip number 2. 11 flat. Next horse to work, hip number 3, jogging towards the quarter pole. Hip number 3 going to work 1/8, followed by hip number 5 also working 1/8. Hip number 3 now in a lope, cantering towards the quarter mile pole, about to work 1/8. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 3. Eleven and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 3. 11 and 1. At the half-mile pole, getting ready to work 1/8, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center agent. Hip number 5. Hip number 5 getting ready to work 1/8, be the next horse to work. At the top of the lane, hip number 5, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center agent, working 1/8. Hip number 5. Ten and 4. 10 and 4 for hip number 5. 10 and 4 for hip number 5. Next horse to work will be hip number 6. Hip number 6 just starting to jog back down by the gap. Hip number 6 consigned also by Benchmark Training Center. A dark bay or brown gelding by Grasshopper out of that great mare Queenland. Hip number 6 will be the next one to go, working 1/8. Now cantering down at the 5/8 pole. Hip number 6 next to work. 1/8. Following hip number 6, we'll have hip number 7, another Benchmark consignee. Hip number 6 now jogging up towards the half-mile pole, working 1/8 will be next, followed by hip number 7. Approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 6, approaching the quarter pole. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 6. Ten and 3, 10 and 3 for hip number 6. 10 and 3. Jogging past the half-mile pole, next to work, hip number 7. Hip number 7, jogging past the half-mile pole, next to work, 1/8, hip number 7. Now approaching the quarter-mile pole, hip number 7. Hip number 7 getting ready to work 1/8, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, a filly by Good Samaritan. Hip number 7, next to work, approaching the quarter-mile pole now, out on the outside rail, getting ready to work 1/8. Now working in 8th, hip number 7. Eleven flat for hip number 7. Now approaching the turn, cantering along, hip number 12, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center. Hip number 12, a bay filly, hip number 12. Now approaching the quarter pole, correct that. Hip number 12 is a colt. Hip number 12 by Upstart, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center. Now approaching the top of the lane, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 12. Ten and 4, 10 and 4 for hip number 12. 10 and 4. At the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 11, consigned by Inside Move. Hip number 11, working 1/8 at the top of the lane.
Hip number 8 is leaving the gap.
Ten and 4. 10 and 4/5 seconds for hip number 11. 10 and 4. Next to work will be hip number 8. Hip number 8 at the 5/8 pole right now, jogging past the 5/8 pole. Hip number 8, next to work 1/8, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Next to work, hip number 8, just making its way past the half-mile pole. Hip number 8. Bay Filly, consigned by Benchmark Training Center by the sire Funtastic out of the Damn Quick Split. Going to work 1/8 of a mile. Next 3 horses to work right now, jogging towards the quarter pole, hip number 8, followed by hip number 13, just going past the quarter pole, followed by hip number 9, just leaving the gap on the backside. Now at the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 8. Eleven and 2, 11 and 2 for hip number 8. 11 and 2. Next to work, hip number 13. Hip number 13 now approaching the quarter pole. Hip number 13 approaching the quarter pole. Consigned by Brian Ford Training Centers at the top of the lane, working in 8th, hip number 13. Ten and 3. 10 and 3. Nice work there. 10 and 3. Hip number 13. Next two horses to work. Hip number 9. Hip number 9 will be next to work, jogging, making her way into the turn, followed by hip number 15. Hip number 15 now steadily coming up to the half-mile pole. Next horse to work, hip number 9. Hip number 9 now approaching the quarter-mile pole, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, agent for Leadham Farm, Inc., a chestnut colt by Stay Thirsty. At the quarter pole now, hip number 9, working 1/8. Eleven and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 9. 11 and 1. Now approaching the quarter pole, hip number 15. Hip number 15 approaching the quarter pole, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center. Hip number 15. A colt by Cairo Prince, working 1/8. Hip number 15. Ten and 3. 10 and 3 for hip number 15. Next to work, hip number 19. Cantering in the corner, hip number 19. Hip number 19 is consigned by Pike Racing, agent number VI or 6. Hip number 19, Bay Filly by Custom for Carlos, an accredited Louisiana bred. Next to work, hip number 19, also working 1/8. Now approaching the quarter pole. Hip number 19, working 1/8. Ten and 4. 10 and 4 for hip number 19. 10 and 4. At the half-mile pole, getting ready to work 1/8 is hip number 10. At the half-mile pole, on the outside rail, jogging, getting ready to work, hip number 10, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Following hip number 10, we'll have hip number 20. Hip number 20, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, will also work 1. Jogging up to the quarter-mile pole, getting ready to work, 1/8, hip number 10. Hip number 10, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Gray Roan filly by the sire Taproot out of the dam. Really charming. Credited Texas bred at the top of the lane. Hip number 10, working 1/8. Followed by hip number 20. Eleven and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 10. 11 and 1. Approaching the turn, hip number 20, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center. Hip number 20, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, is a chestnut filly by the sire Flat Out. Now cantering up towards into the turn, hip number 20, a chestnut filly by the sire Flat Out, an accredited Louisiana bred, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, working 1/8. Now making her way to the quarter pole. Approaching the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 20. Eleven and 4. 11 and 4 for hip number 20. 11 and 4. Next horse to work will be hip number 22. Hip number 22 next to work now at the half-mile pole, followed up by hip number 17. Hip number 22 is consigned by Inside Move. Inc. is the agent. Is a dark bay or brown filly by the sire A Priority out of the dam Sheer Speed. This is an accredited Louisiana bred filly. Hip number 22 next to work, working 1/8, followed by hip number 17. Approaching the quarter pole, next to work, consigned by Inside Move, hip number 22. At the top of the lane, hip number 22, working 1/8. 11 flat. 11 flat for hip number 22. 11 flat. Yeah. Now in the turn, next to work, hip number 17 next to work, consigned by the Asmussen Training Center. Hip number 17 now approaching the quarter pole, consigned by Asmussen Horse Center, a bay colt named Gustavo by the sire Clement. At the top of the lane, hip number 17. Eleven and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 17. 11 and 1. Passing the half-mile pole, next to work, hip number 24, consigned by Prairie Bloodstock, a bay colt by Hita Bomb out of the dam Silver Steph, an accredited Texas bred, hip number 24, next to work, going 1/8. At the quarter pole, hip number 24, working 1/8, consigned by Prairie Bloodstock. Eleven flat. 11 flat for hip number 24. 11 flat. Next to work, jogging now up to the half-mile pole, hip number 25. Hip number 25 getting ready to work 1/8 is a bay filly named Geneva's Girl by the sire The Hunk. Out of Sing a Song is the Dam, another accredited Texas bred now. Next to work, hip number 25, Geneva's Girl, jogging past the half-mile pole now. Following hip number 25, we'll have hip number 26 will be next to work. That will be 25 now, just starting to lope along, going into the turn, followed by hip number 26, also working 1/8. Approaching the quarter pole, next to work 1/8, hip number 25, hip number 25 next to work, followed by hip number 26. Hip number 25 now approaching the top of the lane, working 1/8. Hip number 25. Ten and three. Another one of the co-fastest workers of the morning. 10 and 3 to date. Hip number 25. Next horse to work, consigned by Serenity Farm Training Center. Hip number 26, Moro Express by the sire Moro Tap. Out of the dam, Sit the Christmas Elf. Eligible to be accredited Texas bred. This one is eligible to be an accredited Texas bred now. Making her way around the turn, getting ready. This colt by the sire Moro Tap, working 1/8, hip number 26, which will be followed by hip number 27. Hip number 26 will be followed by hip number 27, both working 1/8. At the top of the lane, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 26. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 26. Eleven and two for hip number 26. 11 and 2. Midway around the turn, next to work is hip number 27. Hip number 27, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center agent, is a chestnut colt by the sire Motom out of the dam Smitty's Town. At the quarter pole now, working 1/8. Hip number 27, who'll be followed by hip number 28. Hip number 27 now at the top of the lane. Eleven flat for hip number 27. 11 flat. Next to work, making a way around the turn, hip number 28, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center agent, Backside Buzz. A chestnut colt by Connect out of the dam Smooth Caramel. This is a Kentucky bred, now approaching the quarter pole. Hip number 28, working 1/8. Followed by hip number 29. At the top of the lane, hip number 28, working 1/8. 10 and 4. 10 and 4 for hip number 28. 10 and 4. Approaching the turn next to work will be hip number 29. Hip number 29, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc., agent for Judge Lanier Racing, is a filly called Crafty Money by the sire Conquest Mo Money out of the dam Songcraft. An accredited New Mexico bred now, next to work, hip number 29, a filly consigned by Benchmark Training Center, working 1/8. Now at the top of the lane. Ten and 4. 10 and 4 for hip number 29. Next to work, hip number 32. Hip number 32. Now with the pony at the half-mile pole, hip number 32, consigned by Wolf Creek Farms, agent number 2. A dark bay or brown filly by the sire Ransom the Moon out of the stakes-winning dam Super Freaky. An accredited Louisiana-bred filly next to work, hip number 2, just moving off away from the pony, approaching the turn. Hip number 32 next to work. Now approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 32. Hip number 32, working 1/8. Ten and 4. 10 and 4 for hip number 32. 10 and 4/5 seconds for hip number 32. Next to work, jogging past the half-mile pole, hip number 34, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Agent for Leadham Farm, Inc., is a chestnut colt by Stay Thirsty out of the Stakes Place Dam, Sweet Sonnet. This is an accredited Texas bred colt, chestnut colt, now jogging down around the backside, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 34. Hip 31 will follow hip 34. Hip 31 will follow hip 34. Both will work 1/8. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 34. Hip number 34, followed by hip number 31. 34 right now, entering the top of the lane, working 1/8.
Leaving the gap.
11 and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 34. 11 and 1. Now approaching the quarter mile pole, working 1/8, hip number 31. Hip number 31, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center, is a Bay filly by the sire Canteros out of the dam Strum. A Kentucky-bred filly now approaching the top of the lane, consigned by the Asmussen Horse Center, working 1/8. Hip number 31. 10 and 4. 10 and 4, 5 seconds for hip number 31. 10 and 4. Next to work, just breaking away from the pony, will be hip number 35. Hip number 35 now at the half-mile pole, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center. Hip number 35 is a dark bay or brown colt by the sire Outwork out of the dam Take It Easy Please. A Kentucky-bred colt working 1/8, now making his way into the turn, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, hip number 35. Hip 35 will be followed by hip 37. At the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 35.
Going in 8.
11 and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 35. 11 and 1. Next to work, hip number 37. Hip number 37 approaching the turn, going into the turn, consigned by Prairie bloodstock agent Champ Levy by the sire Sharp Azteca, as out of the dam Tante Musi. An accredited Texas bred by the sire Sharp Azteca, consigned by Prairie bloodstock, approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8. Hip number 37. 11 and 3. 11 and 3 for hip number 37. 11 and 3. Jogging past the half-mile pole, next to work 1/8. Hip number 39, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc. is the agent, is a Bay filly by the sire Braidster. Braidster, of course, nice sire. The dam Tina the Tiger Bay filly next to work 1/8 is an accredited Texas bred. Working 1/8 next to work, hip number 39. Following hip number 39, we'll have hip number 38. Hip number 39 jogging now towards the quarter pole, working 1/8. Hip number 39. At the top of the lane, hip number 39 working 1/8. 10 and 3. 10 and 3. Another one of the co-fastest works in this first set. 10 and 3 for hip number 39. Next to work, hip number 38. Hip number 38, property of the Asmussen Horse Center. Tapiture Jones, a dark bay or brown colt by the sire Tapiture. Out of the stakes-winning dam Tiffany Royale, an accredited Texas bred. Dark bay or brown colt now working his way into the turn, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 38. At the top of the lane, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 38. Ten and 4. 10 and 4/5 seconds for hip number 38. 10 and 4. Next horse to work, leaving the gap right now with the pony, making their way up the backside. Hip number 36. Hip number 36, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, is a bay filly by the sire Clement. Out of the Dam, Talk Softly, a Kentucky-bred filly, working way down the backside again, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, followed by hip number 1 and followed by hip number 30. Hip number 36 will work 1/8. Hip number 1 will gallop only, and then hip number 30 will gallop only. They will conclude the first set. Right now, one more to work at 1/8. That is going to be hip number 36, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, jogging past the 5/8 pole now. Working 1/8 will be hip number 36. You really start them now. Making her way into the turn, next to work, hip number 36, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, working 1/8. Hip number 36, followed by two gallopers, hip number 1 and hip number 30. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 36. Ten and 3. 10 and 3 for that hip number 36. 10 and 3. One of the co-fastest work of the first set. 10 and 3. The next two horses that will conclude the first set before we work the track, galloping only, will be hip number 1, followed by hip number 30. Hip number 1, consigned by Clear Creek Stud LLC, is a dark bay or brown filly by the sire Half Hours. Out of the Dam, Posture Page, an accredited Louisiana-bred filly. She is now making her way through the turn, galloping only, next to go, hip number 1. At the top of the lane, galloping only, hip number 1. That's hip number 1, finishing up the gallop, now approaching the back side at the half-mile pole, also to gallop only. Hip number 30. Hip number 30, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, is a dark bay or brown colt by the sire Army Mule. Out of the Dam, Strong American, an accredited Texas bred to gallop only, hip number 30, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center as the agent. Now galloping towards the turn. This horse will wrap up our first set. We'll work the track, take a short break, and get ready for more. Hip number 30 will conclude that first set. At the top of the lane, hip number 30, galloping only. Hip number 30 finishing up the gallop. That will conclude our first set of 4 sets to work here at the Under Tack Show. Take a short break, work the track, get everybody off the track, and then we'll be back with set number 2 shortly. Welcome back, everybody. We've got horses back on the track for our second session of the Under Tack show here at Lone Star Park. First horse to work is going to be hip number 41. Hip number 41 is consigned by the property of O.V. Sunny Moss Farms, Rockin' Sydney, a bay filly by the sire Takeover Target out of the dam Tommy's First, an accredited Louisiana bred filly. First to work in our second set, hip number 41, approaching the half-mile pole. Hip number 41 will be followed by hip number 42, coming out of the Asmussen barn. As hip number 41 makes her way around the track, getting ready to work 1/8, to everybody that's following along online on our TTAsales.com website, the streaming live feed, we've got a few technical difficulties. The audio is coming out a little quicker than the video. Maybe it's because I'm Australian, it talks faster than the video, but forgive us, folks. We're working on getting that corrected. So you will hear audio if you're watching online at TTAsales.com. On the live streaming channel, you'll see the audio ahead of the video. We're working to correct that. Meanwhile, back on the racetrack, approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 41. At the top of the lane, hip number 41, working 1/8. Ten and 4/5 seconds for hip number 41. 10 and 4. Hip number 42, consigned by Asmussen Horse Center, Candy Day, a chestnut filly by the sire Race Day out of the dam Trial Forum. Race Day himself, an outstanding winner of the Oaklawn Handicap. Filly right now at the top of the lane is an accredited Texas-bred filly, hip number 42 from the Asmussen Horse Center consignment, working 1/8. Eleven flat for hip number 42. 11 flat. Approaching the half-mile pole with the pony, next to work, hip number 44. Hip number 44 will be followed by hip number 45. Hip number 44 just breaking away from the pony at the half-mile pole, consigned by Serenity Farm Training Center. A bay filly by the sire Orb out of the dam Unholy Night. A registered Arkansas-bred filly getting ready to work next, making a way into the turn. Hip number 44, who will be followed by hip number 45, both working 1/8. Passing the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 44. Twelve flat for hip number 44. Making their way into the turn, next to work. Hip number 45. Hip number 45 will be followed by hip number 46. Hip number 45 is consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center agent. She's a dark bay or brown filly by the sire Cinco Charlie. Out of the dam Valiant Reason. Another registered Arkansas bred to work 1/8, the daughter of Cinco Charlie. Approaching the quarter pole out of the Twin Oaks Training Center consignment. Hip number 45 working 1/8. Now coming past the quarter pole. Ten and 4/5 seconds for hip number 45. 10 and 4. Next to work, jogging into the turn, hip number 46. Hip number 46 is consigned by Prairie Bloodstock. Agent is a chestnut filly by the sire Tapazar out of the dam Vesper Lind. Tapazar himself, of course, a winner of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Outstanding sire, 7 crops of racing age. A Kentucky-bred filly now coming into the turn by the sire Tapazar out of the dam Vesper Lind, out of the Clary Bloodstock agent consignment. Now approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 46. Eleven and 2 for hip number 46. 11 and 2. Next to work will be hip number 49, consigned by Serenity Farm Training Center agent for Richard L. Davis, is a chestnut filly by the sire Clement out of the dam What Will Be. A registered Maryland bred filly now making her way around the turn. She is going to work 1/8. She'll be followed by hip number 51. Hip number 51 will be working a quarter. So hip number 51 working around the backside will be working a quarter. We'll be following right up with hip number 49. So watch those two. They'll be coming pretty quickly together. Approaching the quarter pole, hip number 49. 11 and 2. 11 and 2 for hip number 49. Already coming down the track working a quarter, we've got hip number 51. Hip number 51 already working from the quarter pole. So we'll get those times to you once the time is correct, those, ladies and gentlemen. We had two horses coming over the top of each other. 21 and 2 for hip number 51. 21 and 2 for hip number 51. Just to recap on those last two workers, if you didn't quite catch the time, hip number 49 worked in 8th and 11 and 2. Hip number 49 worked 11 and 2. Hip number 51 worked a quarter in 21 and 2. Hip number 51 worked a quarter in 11 and 21 and 2. Next to work, going to be hip number 59. Now jogging into the turn. Hip number 59, consigned by the Benchmark Training Center, Inc., is the agent. A gray roan filly by the sire Cross Traffic, out of the dam All a Twitter. This is an accredited Texas-bred filly getting ready to work 1/8, consigned by the Benchmark Training Center. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 59, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Ten and 4. 10 and 4/5 seconds for hip number 59. 10 and 4/5 seconds. Next horse to work, now jogging up towards the half-mile pole, will be hip number 56. Hip number 56, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc., as the agent for Judge Lanier Racing. This is a bay filly named Fleet Money by the sire Conquest No Mo Money, out of the dam A Fleet T. This is an accredited New Mexico bred, working 1/8. Hip number 56, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, now starting to enter into the turn, working 1/8. Hip number 56. Hip number 56 will be followed by hip number 48. Hip number 56 will be followed by hip number 48. Those are your next two horses to work, both going 1/8. Now approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 56. Again, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, credited New Mexico bred. Bay filly right now working 1/8 at the top of the lane, hip number 56. Ten and two, fastest work so far this morning. 10-2 for that New Mexico bred, hip number 56. 10-2.
Already went.
47, the other Clary, I'm sorry.
Now approaching the turn. Hip number 48, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center agent, is a bay colt by the sire Constitution out of the dam Wellington Beauty. A Kentucky bred colt. Hip number 48, consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center, now approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8. Eleven and 1. 11 and 1/5 seconds for hip number 48. 11 and 1. Next to work will be hip number 47. Hip number 47, consigned by Prairie bloodstock agent, a bay colt named Noise Complaint by Palace Malice out of the dam Waters Fine, an accredited Texas bred by Prairie bloodstock, now working away into the turn. Bay colt working 1/8, hip number 47. Hip 47 will be followed up by hip number 52. Hip 47 followed up by hip number 52. Approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 47. Eleven and 2. 11 and 2 for hip number 47. 11 and 2. Next to work, hip number 52, followed up by hip number 53. Hip number 52 is consigned by Fairy Tale Farms LLP as the agent, is a bay filly by the sire Sky Flight. Sky Flight is the sire out of the dam Winning Turn, an accredited Texas bred at the quarter pole right now. Hip number 52 working 1/8. 11 and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 52. 11 and 1. Next to work will be hip number 53. Hip number 53 will be next to work. Working 1/8. Hip number 53 now galloping towards the 4.5 furlong pole. Hip number 53 is consigned by Inside Move Inc. Agent is a dark bay or brown colt by the sire Country Day, Out of the Dam, Zappalicious. Accredited Louisiana bred colt to work 1/8 next, passing the half-mile pole, consigned by Inside Move Inc. Agent. 53 will be followed by hip number 60. Hip number 53 will be followed by hip number 60. Approaching the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 53, consigned by Inside Move Inc. Agent. Eleven and 4. 11 and 4 for hip number 53. 11 and 4. Next to work, hip number 60. Hip number 60 now going past the half-mile pole. Next to work, hip number 60 is also going to work 1/8. Hip number 60 is consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc., the agent for Sather Family, LLC. A dark bay or brown colt named Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed by the sire Gormley. Gormley, an outstanding young sire. His first foals are 3-year-olds of 2022. Out of the Dam, Appealing Apple. An Oklahoma bred. Foaled in Oklahoma. Not registered, but foaled in Oklahoma. Next to work, hip number 60, working 1/8. Johnny Appleseed, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc. Agent. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 60. Eleven flat. 11 flat. That Oklahoma bred. 11 flat. Next to work, hip number 62. Next to work, another one out of the Benchmark Training Center stable. Hip number 62, now going past the half-mile pole. Hip number 62, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Agent for the Sather Family, LLC. A bay colt named Noble Crusader by the sire Noble Mission. Out of the Dam, Bayou Breeze, a stakes-winning dam. She's also produced a stakes-winning offspring. Foaled in Kentucky, a colt to work. Next, hip number 62, jogging into the turn, getting ready to work 1/8.
I got 68.
I can't see the... At the quarter pole now, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 62, working 1/8, hip number 62, consigned by Benchmark Training Center. Ten and 4, 10 and 4/5 seconds for hip number 62. Next horse to work is going to be hip number 68, consigned by the Pike Racing Agent number 7, a chestnut colt by the sire Midshipman out of the dam Capel to Deployment, a Kentucky bred colt getting ready to work 1/8, consigned by Pike Racing Agent, now starting to canter into the turn, working 1/8, the chestnut colt, hip number 68. Approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8, consigned by Pike Racing Agent number 7, hip number 68, working 1/8. Ten and 2, 10 and 2. Co-fastest bullet work so far here at the sale so far through 1.5 sets. 10 and 2 for hip number 68. Next to work, hip number 64. Hip number 64, consigned by Prairie Bloodstock Agent, a dark bay or brown filly named Honey Creek. Honey Creek is a daughter of Cheetos out of the dam Big Special, an accredited Oklahoma bred, working 1/8. Next to work out of the Prairie Bloodstock Agent consignment, now picking up pace in the turn, working 1/8, hip number 64. At the top of the lane, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 64. 11 and 3. 11 and 3 for hip number 64. 11 and 3. Next to work, hip number 54. Hip number 54, consigned by Inside Move Inc. Agent, a dark bay or brown colt by the sire Jay Gatsby. Jay Gatsby himself was a black type winner. He is the son of the outstanding sire of sires, Giants Causeway, out of the first dam above reproach, an accredited Louisiana bred, now going into the turn, getting ready to work a half. Hip number 54. So we got 54, then we got a set.
Well, we're going to sit in a few minutes.
Okay. At the top of the lane, consigned by Inside Move Inc. Agent, hip number 54, working 1/8. Eleven flat, 11 flat for hip number 54. 11 flat. Approaching the half-mile pole, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc., agent for Leadham Farm, is hip number 61, a chestnut filly by the sire Lee, out of the dam Aita. A chestnut filly, unnamed. She's an accredited Texas bred by the sire Lee, who calls himself a winner of the Don Handicap, sire of 4 crops of racing age. Outstanding young sire. Hip number 61, starting to go into the turn, working 1/8, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc. agent for Leadham Farm. Next to work, working 1/8, hip number 61. Following hip number 61, we'll have hip number 70 coming out of the Asmussen consignment. Hip number 70 will follow hip number 61. Hip number 61, the filly is now working her way towards the quarter pole, getting ready to work an 8th, followed by hip number 70. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 61. Eleven and 2. 11 and 2/5 seconds for hip number 61. Going past the half-mile pole now, getting ready to work 1/8. Hip number 70. Hip number 70, property of Asmussen Horse Center, a chestnut colt named Village Way by the sire Tapiture, out of the outstanding dam Clamorous Clarissa. She's a sister to 3 stakes-winning sisters, full sisters. Tapiture, outstanding sire himself, the winner of the West Virginia Derby. Credited Texas spread coming out of the Asmussen Horse Center consignment. Approaching the quarter pole, hip number 70, working 1/8. Ten and 3. 10 and 3/5 seconds for hip number 70. 10 and 3. Next horse to work, currently approaching the half-mile pole, still with the pony. Consigned by Pike Racing Agent number 2, or Agent 11, a dark bay or brown filly. By Accelerate, out of the dam Sai Luna, a stakes winner herself. She was the winner of the Grade 2 Beaumont. The filly that you see about to work is foaled in Kentucky. Again, a filly, a dark bay or brown filly by Accelerate. Champion older male, going to work 1/8. Hip number 69 out of the Pike Racing Agent number 2 consignment. Now approaching the turn. Hip number 69 will be followed by hip number 57. Hip number 69 followed by hip number 57. Breaking off at the top of the lane, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 69. Ten and 2. 10 and 2. Another co-fastest bullet of the work so far. 10 and 2 for hip number 69. 10 and 2.
Going in 8th, Foster.
Okay, here comes the set. Dylan, again, this is a set. 71 inside. 101 outside.
Approaching the turn, next to work, hip number 57. Hip number 57 is consigned by Richardson Bloodstock Agent, a bay filly named Laylee by the sire Mishwash out of the dam. Ain't It Sweep? A stakes place dam has already produced a couple of stakes place runners. A registered Florida bred now approaching the quarter pole, getting ready to work 1/8. Following that, we'll have two horses working in a set, hip number 71 and hip number 101. 71 will be on the inside, 101 will be on the outside. At the top of the lane now, working 1/8, hip number 57. Hip number 57 working 1/8 at the top of the lane. Eleven and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 57. Next to work, we'll have a set. Two chestnut horses. Down on the inside, working 1/8, will be hip number 71. On the outside, hip number 101. Hip number 71, consigned by Benchmark Training Center, Inc., the agent for Judge Lanier Racing, is Classy Money, a chestnut gelding by Conquest Mo Money out of the Dam Classic Dom. That is hip number 71 that'll be working down on the inside, and the accredited New Mexico bred. On the outside, also coming out of the consignment of Benchmark Training Center, Inc. agent for Judge Lanier Racing, Pray for Money, a chestnut filly, again by the sire Conquest Mo Money, out of the dam Hims and Hers, another accredited New Mexico bred. Another accredited New Mexico bred. The horses are coming in tandem now into the turn. They're both going to work 1/8. Again, hip number 71 will be on the inside. Hip number 101 will be on the outside. Approaching the quarter pole, working in a set. On the inside, hip number 71. On the outside, hip number 101, both working 1/8. Eleven and 4 appeared on the outside for hip number 101, but working as a set for hip number 71 and hip number 101. 11 and 4/5 seconds. Both horses worked about heads up in there, so both of them will get credited with an 11 and 4 work time for the 1/8. 11 and 4 for both horses. Correction on the second horse, 12 flat for the second horse to work in that set. Correction, 12 flat for hip number 71. So 11 and 4 for 101, 12 flat for hip number 71. 75. All right, making a way into the turn right now, getting ready to work 1/8. Hip number 75. Hip number 75, consigned by the Asmussen Training Horse Center as the agent. A chestnut colt by the sire L. Deal out of the dam. Deputy's Pretty Penny. A horse called colt named Pinch Me a Penny. At the quarter pole now, an accredited Louisiana bred out of the Asmussen Horse Center agent consignment. About to work 1/8. Pinch Me a Penny. Eleven and 1. 11 and 1 for hip number 75. 11 and 1. Next horse to work, now approaching the turn, hip number 65, consigned by Fairy Tale Farms LLP agent, a dark bay or brown filly by the sire Sky Flight. His first foals of 2-year-olds of 2020 out of the stakes placed dam Broadway Baby. Accredited Texas bred, hip number 65, now at the quarter pole, approaching the top of the lane, getting ready to work 1/8. Hip number 65. Eleven and 4. 11 and 4/5 seconds.
Foster.
'At the 4.5 pole, with the pony, next to work, hip number 72. Hip number 72, consigned by Pike Racing, agent number 2, a dark bay or brown colt by the sire McCracken out of the dam Conjuress, a stakes-winning dam who's already produced a stakes winner. The name of the colt to work, Release McCracken. Bay colt foaled in March the 7th. A Kentucky bred, foaled in Kentucky, consigned by Pike Racing agent. Hip number 72 now, working their way into the turn. Working 1/8. Hip number 72 will be followed up by hip number 78. At the top of the lane, working 1/8, hip number 72. Another co-fastest work, hip number 72, Conjuress, 10 and 2. 10 and 2/5 seconds for hip number 72. Nice work, 10 and 2. Now approaching the half-mile pole, next to work. Hip number 78. Hip number 78. Consigned by Inside Move Inc. agent, a Bay filly by the sire Free Drop Billy. Black type winner of the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. The first dam, Doc's Gypsy, daughter of Yankee Gentleman. An accredited Texas bred getting ready to work 1/8, a Bay filly by the sire Free Drop Billy, coming out of the consignment of Inside Move Inc. agent, hip number 78. Coming past the quarter pole, getting ready to work an 8th, hip number 78, a Bay filly by Free Drop Billy, out of the Inside Move Inc. agent consignment. Eleven and 1, 11 and 1 for hip number 78, 11 and 1. Next horse to work, hip number 73, consigned by Clear Creek LLC as the agent, a gray or roan filly by the sire Half Hours, out of the stakes-winning dam Correct Call. An accredited Louisiana bred now making her way into the turn by that outstanding sire Half Hours, out of a stakes-winning dam Correct Call, hip number 73, consigned by Clear Creek Stud LLC. Approaching the turn, getting ready to work 1/8, hip number 73. That's what I thought. 73, now approaching the 8th pole, working 1/8. Ten and 4. 10 and 4/5 seconds for hip number 73. 10 and 4/5 seconds. Our next 3 horses will be galloping only. Next to go. Hip number 76. Hip number 76, galloping only. Consigned by Twin Oaks Training Center agent, a dark brown colt by the sire Cloud Computing. His first foal's a 2-year-old, so a nice first crop sire. Cloud Computing himself was a winner of the Preakness out of the dam Deverell, by Arch, and accredited Louisiana bred by that sire Cloud Computing, a first crop sire. Alex is the one, galloping only, hip number 76, followed by hip number 79, also galloping. That's hip number 76, finishing up the gallop. Hip number 76. Now, also galloping, hip number 79. Working her way into the turn. Hip number 79 is a colt by Always Dreaming, consigned by Benchmark Training Center Inc. agent. Dosey's Dream by the sire Always Dreaming, of course, winner of the Kentucky Derby. Out of the Dam, Double Dose by Flatter, a registered New York bred here by the sire Always Dreaming. Hip number 79, galloping. That's hip number 79, finishing up that gallop. Hip number 79, finishing up the gallop. One more to gallop in this set. It'll be hip number 43, finishing up this set. Approaching the half-mile pole, finishing up this second set, galloping. Hip number 43, consigned by Clear Creek Stud, LLC. A Bay Filly by the sire Custom for Carlos. Out of the Dam, Quinn Alliance. Custom for Carlos himself was a winner of the Jersey Shore, grade 3. Twin Alliance, the Dam. She was a daughter of Proud Citizen. Accredited Louisiana bred filly named Customed Twin. Going to gallop. She'll wrap up this, the second set. Hip number 43, now making her way into the turn. Now coming down the straightaway galloping, hip number 43, consigned by Clear Creek Stud LLC, hip number 43 galloping. A daughter of Custom for Carlos, accredited to Louisiana bred. That's hip number 43. She will wrap up this, the second set, here at the TTA Sales Under Tack Show. We'll take a short break. We'll work the track. Once she gets off the racetrack, we'll work it. We'll come back with sets 3 and 4. We'll be back shortly. Thank you.